One Piece fan letter. This project, I feel, before it actually aired this past weekend, was definitely being looked down upon by a sizable number of people as just something to fill the space, especially after the news that the anime was going on the extended break, 6 months without it, and this special episode will be just a cool side thing. It won't be anything spectacular. It was being looked down upon by some before it had even had its moment. But now that it has aired and everyone has seen it, the reactions and the rightful praise it is receiving feels so much sweeter given the circumstances it's found itself in. It's only 25 minutes long, so slightly longer than the average anime episode, but in that short time, the two stars of the show here, Keisuke Mori and Megumi Ishitani, just show off that they're some of the best in the business because One Piece fan letter is incredible. You know, the One Piece world itself is huge, both physically and metaphorically. There are islands the size of countries, characters that walk in each other's shadows, and each piece of it moves independent of the main cast. So everything feels alive, it never stagnates and it never rests. There's people who can destroy islands with a single punch or shatter the skies when they clash, travel at the speed of light and manipulate the elements. And then there's also just regular people working regular jobs with their own hobbies and heroes who they look up to, but you rarely hear about them because their lives aren't anywhere near as fantastical or full of adventure as those heroes that they look up to. And surprise, surprise, that's where One Piece fan letter shines, by giving the spotlight to the ordinary, by really showing that everything is connected and is affected by what we see happen in the main story. Even if it is just a small ripple that no one will ever know about, it's still something. If you look at the perspective that the story doesn't happen to the Straw Hats, but the Straw Hats happen to the story, it's their actions that have set things into motion. They are the drivers, not the passengers. The Straw Hats happened to the story and indirectly caused everything that we see in this special. That's the ripple effect of the living, breathing world of One Piece. Nami, Luffy, Brook, Chopper, none of them will ever find out about any of this that we see in this episode, but their actions are actively changing people's lives. So One Piece fan letter works on two levels. It combines the perspective of the in-world civilians and the perspective of us fans. Or maybe those are one in the same, because in the same way the Straw Hats and their adventure provides an escape for each of these random people, the story of One Piece provides an escape for us readers as well. The aspirations of each of these people mirror that of ours as well as we read the story. Whether it's a feeling of uselessness or hopelessness or fear or regret, things that everyone feels regardless of if they are the strongest creature in the world or some random delivery girl. Everyone has something they want to do or achieve, regardless of whether it's a small thing they want to do tomorrow or something life-changing they want to achieve within 10 years. There is a goal in mind, and either way, the hardest part about it is just getting started. But beyond that, not everything in this episode is super philosophical. Some civilians that get the focus in this episode mirror us readers in more ways than one. I mean, there is one blindingly obvious section which revolves around a certain debate happening in a bar. But then again, even that scene evolves into a metaphor about appreciating what you have, appreciating the little things, even the annoying things. Every aspect of this 25 minutes of cinema can be interpreted as having like 5 different meanings, and it would make sense because if you notice, none of these civilians have actual names. We get one title and one surname, but that's it. Since as much as they are their own characters, they are also kind of self-inserts. Like I said before, the reader's perspective and their perspective is one in the same almost. So each action that one of these guys takes can mean something entirely different for so many different fans, because each real-life fan of One Piece has lived their own unique life that's giving them their own unique viewpoint on what, why, how, if you get what I'm saying. It's a fan letter in every sense of the word. And getting more into the actual details of it, firstly, this is not filler, in my eyes at least. This special is 100% canon. It is adapted from a light novel that was written like 10 years ago, but it isn't a complete one-to-one adaptation. For starters, the novel takes place in Dressrosa and this episode takes place in Sabaody, and the characters' stories aren't as connected as they are in this adaptation. They're more like anthologies. I haven't read the light novel, but this is just what I know based on limited research. So this One Piece fan letter takes place on Sabaody Archipelago on the day that the Straw Hats are reuniting after the 2-year time skip, and we are just following normal people living their normal lives, normal for the most part at least. The Nami fangirl, who I guess is the main character here, is on a mission to deliver her fan letter to Nami, to go on an adventure and escape her mundane life as a delivery girl. The thing about her section in this that sticks with me the most is actually her just disdain for the two Navy brothers, because the idea of being compared to a smarter or more successful relative or family friend or something definitely hits too close to home for so many people. Especially when the person you're being compared to isn't even a bad person, they're a good guy, but because their name is always used to talk down to you, your anger just unconsciously spreads to them as well. I have the privilege of saying that I was that cousin who everyone was being compared to, so seeing the face that the Nami fangirl makes, one of just disgust, is so funny to me because I've seen that face so many times. But again, on a deeper level, her monologue as she races across the Navy ship was one of my favorite moments in this special, about how this world is too big for her, but she'll struggle all the while to live freely. No one needs to be told for the umpteenth time how the concept of freedom is like the connective glue for the entirety of One Piece. And as for my absolute favorite part of Fan Letter is it's everything revolving around the greengrocers, the two Navy brothers, kicking things off at Marineford where they are so unbelievably out of their depth. In the One Piece world, the vast majority of Marines had probably never seen a major conflict or been part of a major conflict until Marineford, and beyond that they would have only heard stories about the likes of Whitebeard and the other emperors and maybe even the admirals, who are themselves very rarely mobilized, and even at Navy HQ, the low-level Navy men I think really got a sight of them, let alone interacted with them. So Marineford from their perspective was a clash of titans where they are just ants. And so often are they called fodder as to say there's no need for them. What do they do? And that's 100% correct. These guys are fodder in every sense of the word. During the Marineford arc, I am so sure that not a single reader or watcher was thinking about whether Oz's leg landed on anyone after Doflamingo cut it, when that thing is basically a whole building in itself. To these guys, Marineford was the most painful, traumatizing event of their entire lives. And as for their relationship as brothers, they have opposite personalities. The older brother is more stern and quieter, while the younger one is more relaxed and likes to talk. And you can see that the older brother feels like his younger brother is constantly patronizing him, and I think he is, but the younger brother isn't doing it intentionally. He's genuinely just trying to help, and that disconnect has led to a one-sided disliking. That sort of feeling, similar to what I was talking about with the Nami fangirl and her disliking these two brothers because she is constantly compared to them, this is like the next tier up, where the older brother's feelings towards his younger brother, from my point of view, were entirely born out of his own insecurities. I say this because we see those quick flashes of him being clumsy throughout his life, and it was mentioned that he has slouched shoulders. It seems that he was never very outgoing. And from there is the saying that you never know what you have until it's gone, and that revelation hits in this very moment where his brother is trapped by the ice and Oz's leg. This is also where Luffy shouts to Ace in the background, which is what makes an already great scene into an incredible one. Even though these two brothers of Luffy and Ace and the Navy brothers are miles apart in every metric, they both share the fact that they love their brothers. And this is why it's my favorite part of the episode. I'm a very family-oriented person, and that's one of the reasons why One Piece is my favorite fictional story, the recurring theme of family. And in this, the older brother comes to understand what his younger brother means to him, and he wouldn't want to lose him for the world. Literally. He ran back amidst Kizaru and the Pacifista shooting lasers, Mihawk and Crocodile clashing, Whitebeard quaking the ice they stood on. From their point of view, the world is collapsing around them, and they are getting front row seats to these otherworldly powers. And back to the bar, back down to earth, where the older brother is appreciating what he has, because with what he's been through, what they've been through together, if he still has the time and the mental stability to be annoyed at his younger brother, then that's a blessing in disguise, the fact that they've made it this far. And as I've said before, different parts of this will mean more to different people. The Nami fangirl's point of view and the Navy brothers' point of view were what stood out for me. But that's not to say that the other characters' stories weren't really good as well, like the Brook fan working in a library and bored out of her mind and angry about how she's not able to attend Soul King's final concert. That very much sounds like a real world situation for tons and tons of people, and how their work restricts them from living their life the way they want to. The power scalers in a bar. I have never seen a more accurate depiction of power scaling by One Piece fans. Discussing the world's strongest swordsman, where V-Star is mentioned to downplay Mihawk, how some people think Zoro is supposedly already at that level, and whether or not Whitebeard's weapon classifies him as a swordsman, and then those who don't care about that at all, and throw in another random strong character. I mean, their bounty scaling, it's genuinely scary how accurate this is. The boy is going crazy over Frankie in the magazine because he's unironically really cool. I wonder if Frankie himself knows that he's been published in a shipwright magazine. The Nami fangirl didn't recognize Usopp because at this point in time, everyone still thinks he is Soge King, and the Chopper fanboy or fan man, the benevolent king of the waves, he's definitely the sole reason for Chopper's low bounty. He was 100% the guy who walked up to Brand New, the marine in charge of bounties, and said Chopper's just a mascot or a pet, as a way to protect him. One Piece fan letter is just that, a letter to One Piece fans. It can still be enjoyed even if someone hasn't seen One Piece, but really it's meant for One Piece fans. It makes you so happy, feel so warm. I've rewatched it a few times already and the smile on my face is just as big, if not bigger, than it was on the first viewing. Well, I was going to say it's a diamond in the rough, but One Piece is definitely not rough anymore. It's incredible right now on all fronts. So One Piece fan letter is a diamond among diamonds. One Piece fans absolutely have it better than anyone else right now. How was a break for the anime announced just for them to drop arguably the anime episode of the year? And by coincidence or on purpose, this special takes place during the return to Sabaody, and not this weekend but the next weekend. The Fishman Island remaster will begin airing and will pick up at that very same point, the return to Sabaody. And I've already mentioned them at the start, but it's only right if I end off with them as well. Keisuke Mori and Megumi Ishitani, they are masters of their craft and they deserve all the credit and praise that they are receiving.